Hemorrhoids can be a real pain in the butt, causing anal itching and burning and irritation. Get fast relief with all natural, doctor-developed and tested Anacool. Buy Anacool, A-N-A-C-O-O-L, on Amazon right now and save 15% with code WABC2024.
This is Sid and Friends in the Morning.
77 WABC.
This comes from my friend Bert. Bert was the opposing coach last night. Have I brought that up yet, that my basketball team, the Blue Bears, kicked his ass?
Not yet. No.
Well, let me bring it up for the first time then. Bert's team was 2-0 coming in, and my team, a prohibitive underdog against Bay Ridge Financial, that's Shane Cederman's group, and all the criticism all week from jerks like Curtis Sliwa, and we kicked their ass last night. I love Bert. And on a serious note, for the past 22 years, Kevin Kenny and Al Dowd, these are two retired cops, and they run the Jimmy Riches Memorial Golf Outing. Good friends of Jimmy Riches and the entire Riches family, Kevin and Al's efforts have played a pivotal part in keeping Jimmy's memory alive. The outing has been held at Dyker Heights for the last 22 years in Bay Ridge, Brooklyn, and I'll have more info on that as we get closer to the event. But I've got a kid in studio. A kid. He looks like he's ready to be president. He's got a beautiful blue suit on, a striped tie, a very nicely dry-cleaned, tailored white shirt. He's got his hair parted to the side almost perfectly, like Iron Eagle. He's got a great smile, and his beautiful mom is in studio also. And this kid is already a power broker. 19 years old. He's got a book out. He's got a show. And believe it or not, this is unbelievable. He was appointed to co-chair the RNC's inaugural Youth Advisory Council to give Gen Z a seat at the table for the 2024 election. Great to meet you. This is Brilyn Hollyhand. Is that right?
Brilyn, yes, sir. Sid,
Brilyn Hollyhand.
Good morning. Happy Tuesday. I'm glad to be in New York. I got dressed up just for you, just to come in the studio, so I appreciate the opportunity.
Something tells me you dress like that all the time, even when you're at home watching Alabama football. You guys are from Tuscaloosa?
Yes, sir. Roll Tide.
And Roll Tide. So you're a big Alabama Crimson Tide fan. What are your thoughts on Saban leaving? You know, Saban, when he first left, made it sound like, well, I'm kind of tired. ESPN's going to give me a ton of money, which they did. You got a job at ESPN. And then it came out that he didn't like the new system. You got one college quarterback this year, Brilyn, for example, who was now playing on his third different college team in 4 years. He's played at Oregon State, he's played at Notre Dame, and he's played at Florida State. So basically, Saban said, I've had enough, and he quit. What are your thoughts on that?
Sid, I was raised on college football. That is kind of the culture in the South, and especially the culture in Titletown, USA, Tuscaloosa. The Bryant-Denny Stadium is about 10 minutes from my house. Wow. I was at every home game last year. It's a big part of my life, big part of the culture. Again, I've seen it. So I've seen it evolve into what it is today, and college football is unfortunately in a pretty sad state. I think SEC football is something that can unite the country. And I think it's, kind of this powerhouse. But again, like you said, it's deteriorating, because it's becoming politics and because we're not treating it correctly. So I know, the divide in the state of Alabama, Auburn versus Alabama.
Yes.
Saban was obviously on this Alabama side, but on the other side we have Tommy Tuberville, who's now our senior United States Senator in the great state of Alabama. He's actually working on legislation with Joe Manchin to work on, this NIL problem that we have. So that's something that obviously Saban was frustrated with, and hopefully we can have a good outcome with.
Didn't even know that. And, last year, again, almost, the quarterback was brutal early on. He got better. And Alabama came dangerously close to winning another championship for Nick Saban. Let me talk about you for a second, though. Sure. You're 19 years old. You are about to enter your final year of high school.
Yes, sir.
Not even in college yet. So would you mind explaining to me how you have your own show, podcast, how you have interviewed everybody from President Trump to every big name in my business, and now, once again, co-chair for the RNC for the youth. How did all that happen?
Sure. So I first got interested in politics at the age of 10. I was paying attention to that 2016 presidential election. We thought it was chaotic and divisive then, but just look where we are now 8 years later.
Were you a Trump person then or Hillary Clinton?
I was definitely a Trump person then. And I started watching those fiery debates between Trump and Hillary, and I remember saying, this is interesting. This is something that is historic. and we need to have a seat at the table. We need to be a part of. So I started watching then. That next summer at 11, July of 2017, I founded the Truth Gazette because I said, look, I'm fed up with the situation that, the country's in. The adults are going to fix it, though. Said the adults didn't fix it. And so I decided if my parents...
was the Truth Gazette kind of the prelim, I guess, to Truth Social, where Donald Trump now uses that as his social media, but you had an actual, newspaper.
It's not the same thing, but we both respect the truth, and we believe that we still need truth in America, and that's something that we're seeing, again, a deterioration of, so we need more truth in the country. That's how it started. That's how my career started. The RNC's area really came together after the 2022 midterms. I think it's no secret, Sid, that Republicans kind of underperformed in those midterms.
They did.
And there was a lot
Jesse Waters promised me 55 seats, 56 seats the night before. I'm like, look at this. We're going to do great. And, we didn't, like you said.
We didn't, unfortunately. And there was that period there after the election where a lot of fingers were being pointed, a lot of blame was being thrown around. They were blaming it on bad candidates, bad policies, bad endorsements. And I said,
abortion. That was the major topic.
That was the big thing.
Yeah.
And I said, all of that's crap. What we really need to look at is where we're not engaging with what the DNC's doing. We're not reaching out to youth voters at all at this point in time in 2022. The DNC founded a youth advisory council in 2003. We were 20 years behind them at this point. It was embarrassing. So I put out this long-form op-ed, went on a national news network, and it caught the attention of the RNC. And I very bluntly said, listen, we will die out as a party if we do not reach out to my generation.
The RNC back then was still being run by Ronna McDaniel.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
And I have to imagine you're very close with Larry Trump, my friend, yes?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
So I had been a frequent critic of Ronna, and caught her attention on Fox and Friends one morning, and she said, listen, I like the idea you're proposing. What can we do and sit down? And we had a conversation about founding this RNC Youth Advisory Council. I thought I was mentioning the idea, would go off into the space and not think about it again. And she reached back out and said, would you mind chairing it?
Wow.
And
that is
here
a huge honor.
It was, absolutely.
Brilyn, that is unbelievable. Now, the last I saw, the latest polls have Donald Trump, who's really doing well everywhere, except for my people, the Jewish people. They continue to screw him. I have no idea why. But young people, seems like he's doing very, very well.
The most recent poll I saw yesterday morning in my inbox, he's up 8 points with the youth vote. A Republican presidential candidate has not won the youth vote since 2003. That's major. That's historic. This is historic. And so I think President Trump has the opportunity. Why? Because young voters are gravitating towards him. His Make America Great Again slogan isn't just a bumper sticker. It's a way of life that we want back. We want to grow up in a country that's great again. That's pretty simple. And we see under Biden's economy and Biden's administration that my generation is not going to have a hopeful future.
No, I agree with you. But is it really that simple? Is that why young people like you gravitate towards Donald Trump? Because for me, when I was 19, I was a moron, okay? Even when I was 39, I was still a moron. And I would just watch TV and I would say, wow, that guy looks really old. He can barely speak. And this guy with the nice tan, he looks pretty cool and he can still golf. To me, that would be more attractive. I wasn't nearly as bright as you. So I got to think there's a lot of kids out there that are not in a suit and tie this morning, God bless you, that just go, he looks really old. He looks pretty cool. That's simple, yes?
It's pretty simple. I mean, I think you put it like that. And also, the most recent conversation I had with President Trump was backstage before a fundraiser he was giving in Alabama. He came down and we were talking. And he's waving his hands in the air. Yeah. He said, Brilyn, what can we do to win the youth vote? And I said, Mr. President, two things. First of all, reach out on mainstream social media platforms. And second of all, be authentic. We saw Biden attempt to get on TikTok, attempt to get on Instagram, get on these platforms where, again, my generation is where we're constantly scrolling their videos in front of our eyes. But Biden didn't do the second thing. He wasn't authentic. He read off a teleprompter. He said, good morning, Americans. Pause. And kept going. And
right.
it doesn't bode well with my peers.
Right.
And so Trump actually listened to that advice. He got on TikTok. He got back on Instagram. True Social is great. We love True Social. But you have to get on places where my peers are and we're not on Truth. So he got on platforms. He's doing really well. He has the fastest growing TikTok account in TikTok history.
Huge.
And so that's why we see peers are coming over. And he's winning by 8 points. And we're still months away.
How often do you speak to President Trump?
We have conversations with his campaign almost daily.
Almost daily.
Yes.
All right. So, and I want to talk about Milwaukee for a second. We'll get to your book.
Yes.
So we're all going to Milwaukee next week for the RNC, which again, you're a part of. It's a big deal. Michael Watley, Larry Trump, and my friend Brilyn. But you were there not that long ago.
Correct.
During the primary.
Yes.
And you told me off there that was kind of a scouting session, if you will, to see, because there's a lot of people that go, the RNC in Milwaukee, the DNC in Chicago. We've got cities like Honolulu, Beverly Hills. Why Milwaukee and Chicago? But you had nice things to say about Milwaukee.
Sure. Yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed my time in Milwaukee, and their cheese curds are pretty cool as well. I've got some inside baseball for you. I'll give you a little story here. The very first conversation I ever had in person at the RNC, I flew up in March. This was the very first ever meeting of the Youth Council. Ron is sitting at the head of the table. I'm on the other head. We're having a conversation with the members. And she said, okay, first order of business, we have this first primary debate. We're going to do it in Milwaukee as a test run to see before the convention. And I said, okay, that's great. You know, how are we going to make sure we're reaching out to youth voters while we're doing this debate? It's a big deal. We want people to hear our candidates because we hope, you know, one of the candidates obviously will be the next president. Well, the RNC obviously partnered with Fox for that debate. That's awesome. But we wanted to make sure that, you know, my peers aren't watching cable. They're not even having cable subscriptions anymore. We had to get it on a streaming platform. So the first order of business, I said, is we've got to find a streaming platform. Now, you know, YouTube, Hulu, Netflix, they're not going to partner with the RNC. What can we do? We reached out to one of our conservative-friendly programs, Rumble, a free speech YouTube alternative.
Rumble's great.
Got them signed on, and they actually streamed all 4 debates. It was the most watched streamed debates in debate history because we wanted to reach out to youth voters. So now,
whose idea was Rumble?
Mine.
You're brilliant.
Yes.
Well, I mean, you know, Mark Levin is on there. Kimberly Guilfoyle is on there.
Absolutely.
So look at you. You
so
are one smart
like-minded
kid.
people were already on there. But again, young people who were on the program watching their favorite, you know, video game streamers who have no idea debate's even going on could see it on the homepage. We had 2 million people tune in that night on Rumble alone. That's amazing. That's 2 million more young voters that would have never even known a debate was happening. So that was the first step. The second step was, okay, we've got a big, huge forum. You know, Pfizer Forum. That's what we'll be doing the convention this week.
Yes.
Beautiful, huge building.
That is the home of the Milwaukee Bucks.
Correct. Yes, sir. Yes.
The Greek Freak.
Yes. So how are we going to pack this building? Well, it can't just be the typical, you know, RNC people. It can't just be, you know, the donors, the party supporters. Let's get some young people in the room. So we partnered with YAF and had the first 2 rows of the place packed with young people to make sure that college students who actually were involved in the debate could be asking questions, could be involved. So we had a question asked by a college student in the first presidential debate because it was that important to have college students involved. Now, later on in the cycle, we finished with the very first primary debate, actually in my hometown of Tuscaloosa. I convinced them to come to the University of Alabama. I remember it was that final debate. There were 4 or 5 candidates left on the stage. So we said the first debate, we flew, you know, young people to the candidates. The last debate, we actually flew the candidates to the young people. That's the priority of the RNC. And going into this convention, we're doing the same thing. We're flying young people up. We're going to make sure they have a seat at the table this entire conversation because, again, it's a priority and it's clearly working because we're winning by 8 points with the youth.
Unbelievable. This is Brilyn Hollyhand, 19 years old. It all started when he was 11. And now he has become an integral part of the RNC. And all your ideas with the youth are amazing. Now, this book must, of course, speak to that as well. His new book is out. It's called One Generation Away, Why Now is the Time to Restore American Freedom by Brilyn Hollyhand. Tell me about that.
Yes, sir. So my debut book came out this morning. You got the exclusive. We were the first.
Is that right?
It came out this morning.
It just came out just now?
It came out this morning, yes,
so
sir.
is this in bookstores?
It's in bookstores all across America.
I got to tell you this. Your mom's sitting right here. So I wrote 2 relatively crappy books, okay? One is called You're Wrong and You're Ugly, because that was my kind of radio personality. And the other was called Citizens United, because my listeners refer to me, they're called citizens, not CITSID like my name, okay? So I didn't sell a lot of books. But when I walked into Barnes & Noble in New York City and I saw my face and my book on the shelf, I don't care if it cost me $60,000. It was the coolest thing ever. So you got to wait, Brilyn. Now, when you walk into one of these bookstores and your name is on a shelf, you're going to be like, oh, my God, that's me.
That's actually what we're doing right when we get done here. So that we've already talked to Barnes & Noble. It's on the one on 5th Avenue here in town.
Oh,
so
that's a great store.
Next. Yes, well, thank you.
So you're doing a book signing right there.
We're going to go sign a few books in there for any of your audience. They can go this afternoon and hopefully pick some up. But it's available everywhere books are sold starting this morning. It's available on Amazon. We're trying to make it up the Amazon bestsellers list and become the youngest bestseller. That's a goal. But if your audience wants signed copies, they can go to BrilynHollyhand.com, BrilynBook.com. They're all available on there, signed copies. But really the point of this book is 7 years of conversation. I started this interview telling you that I got started at 11. I'm 18 now. And it's 7 years of talking to as many Americans as I could, but said more importantly, listening to more of them. And you hear the same thing I'm hearing. Americans don't necessarily have hope in our future. They don't think that, you know, my generation is going to get to grow up in a free America like my parents and grandparents. And that's sad. That's unfortunate. That's a sad state of affairs. We wanted to change that. And I believe that right now this election is so pivotal that we have the opportunity to flip the script. And this book's for young people out there, like my peers that want to get interested in politics and want to, you know, not necessarily have a career, but want to pay attention, know what's going on. This book's for them, but it's also for parents out there. Parents who see the indoctrination that's going on in our schools, that want to stop it, that want to instill these conservative values and morals in the homes. This book's for them. Finally, it's for grandparents. Grandparents out there who look at this country, look at America today and don't recognize it, Sid, that want their kids, their grandchildren to grow up in a free America. Yep. This book's for everybody. It's been endorsed by, let's see, Candace Owens, Ben Carson, Katie Britt, Sean Spicer, Mike Huckabee, Lee Greenwood, Riley Gaines. We've got a lot of really cool people that have signed on to this book. It took a lot to get this together, and today's a historic moment to get to celebrate with you.
Not that those aren't fine people. They all are. But now the book has been endorsed by Sid Rosenberg.
Well, thank you. That's the biggest endorsement.
That's a big deal, Brilyn. Well, you are just so impressive. I mean, is there any chance in a million years you don't become a politician? What else can you possibly? I mean, you're ready to go now.
So right before I flew to New York, I hosted a book launch party in my hometown. We had over 500 people there. I did a speech, and we had a Q&A before I signed books. And the very first question asked was, "When are you running for president?" And I'll give you the same answer I gave them, and it's the truth, is that I have no aspiration right now to be in politics. It's too dirty. I like the commentary tide. I like talking about it. I think I can have a long-term 80-year career talking as opposed to a 4 to 8 year term, attempting to govern in a corrupt system.
So you could see yourself doing something like this, TV,
sure.
radio, something,
yes.
And you're a
that's
wonderful speaker.
Well, thank you.
And that can change, but that's
yes.
current, right?
Yes.
You're going to go to Auburn and stab your hometown in the back.
We'll see what happens.
You haven't decided that yet.
Haven't decided, no. We'll have a few more months.
Yeah. I remember, you mentioned President Trump at the Alabama game.
Yeah.
You would know this, Brilyn, better than me, but wasn't it LSU Clemson?
It was.
A couple years ago. How great was that, Brilyn?
It was huge. It was major. I remember President Trump coming to my hometown. We were playing LSU, and I think it was the biggest thing that's happened in Tuscaloosa. I mean, every street was packed. Everybody wanted to know President Trump's route because they wanted to just stand out there and support him. Hold up signs. I remember people saying, it took 2 to 3 extra hours to get into the game today, but you have to go through Secret Service medal and he's there. But It was worth it because I got to see Trump from across the stadium. We have over 100,000 people in our stadium. 100,000 people got to see President Trump. People still talk about it to this. That was 2018.
That was 2018.
I still have people come up and talk about it.
That was amazing. So are you the only child? Do you have any brothers or sisters?
I have a sister, younger sister.
She's younger. Okay.
Yes.
And she's brilliant like you, I would imagine.
Yes. Oh, yeah. She's all into cheer. So,
she is. Okay. What does your dad do? I'm curious.
My dad's in construction. Mom was a teacher before I was born. And so, not necessarily a political family, not the family that grew up at political fundraisers that was, kind of convincing people to run for office or kind of grooming me at a young age. This just kind of started and it happened and here we are.
Unbelievable. My son, oh my God, I really have become, what is her name? Used to be married to, Frank Gifford. The annoying
Kathy
one.
Lee.
Yeah, I'm Kathy Lee. I got to mention my son all the time. I apologize. But he's on his way to a broadcasting camp this morning, a sports broadcasting camp.
That's awesome.
With Bruce Beck, who's a very well-known New York, Bruce. Yes. And like today, for example, he's doing a whole thing on the Knicks. He's a big Knicks fan, and he's 15. And I will say this to both of you. In 3 years, if he's anything like you, then we've done an amazing job of parenting because you are an exceptional young man.
I appreciate
you really
that.
are.
That means a lot.
The book is One Generation Away. Go buy it today. Brilyn is one of the hard workers with the RNC. We'll see him next week alongside Michael Watley, Larry Trump, and President Donald Trump for that matter. And I can't wait to see you in Milwaukee. Great job here today. Thank you so much.
Sid, thanks for having me. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
That's my man, Brilyn Hollyhand right there. Go buy the book today. One Generation Away.
Hi, it's Lou Dobbs for Priority Gold, America's precious metals dealer. These are volatile times with high inflation, soaring debt, wars on multiple continents, and rising financial stress. Central banks are buying gold to diversify their reserves, so are many Americans. Call Priority Gold and find out how precious metals can help you diversify your portfolio. They're highly rated and happy to help. Call 1-866-303-6357 or get a free gold guide at PriorityGoldGuide.com. That's PriorityGoldGuide.com.